Jim Harbaugh, aka alleged cheater. Man, will he have a chance to prove himself to his haters tomorrow or what? This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Jim Harbaugh having a golden opportunity to beat Penn State at their place. Jim Harbaugh has had a major scandal going on around him in recent memory as his team was busted up for stealing hand signals from opponents. Therefore, Michigan has now obtained a reputation of being cheaters, even though they have been winning a lot of games in recent memory. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Will Jim Harbaugh prove haters wrong against Penn State? And for the haters that are watching this video, you're going to be disappointed by my take. Yeah, he's going to prove his haters wrong, because even though Michigan cheated with their hand signals and everything like that, and having a guy named Connor Stallions going ahead and filming opposing teams as hand signals, they're still a good football team. You can have all the answer keys you want. You can know all the plays from the opposing opponents. You still got to stop it at the end of the day. You still got to go out there on the football field and execute. And for what Michigan's defense has done this year, they've been incredible. And as a team, they've been able to dominate every single game. Yeah, this game won't be a domination because Penn State is also a good football team as well, but this is going to be a game where Michigan is going to win the game because they are just tougher than Penn State all around, because everybody knows what Penn State is going to do. They like to run the football. They like to be a power running team. They like to be a team where they can use more effort than the opposing team. So obviously, Michigan's not going to need to cheat against Penn State in order to beat those guys, because Penn State is a predictable team on offense. James Franklin is one of the most predictable coaches in all of college football. We've seen Penn State every single year go up against big teams, and they never win when it matters most in big games, because Penn State, even though they do have a good quarterback and Drew Allard, they don't really use him nearly enough. They need to be throwing the ball more often with that guy, because that guy's a playmaker, but instead they want to ride on the running game and Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Now granted, those two running backs are pretty good, but they're not going to be your leaders in terms of being able to carry them to victories in big games. Quarterback is the most important position in all of sports, and they need to be using Drew Allard more in the passing game. Now obviously in the receiving game, they don't use the receivers a lot because they don't throw the ball a lot, quite frankly, but they do have Keandre Lambert-Smith, Harrison Wallace III, and Dante Cephas, so they do have decent receivers, although they don't really use the receivers a whole lot. They need to use the receivers more in the passing game. If I'm Penn State, I'm changing things up this Saturday. I'm going to the air game. I'm going to go ahead and sling it with Drew Allard. I'm going to tell him, go ahead, gunsling that thing and trust us down the field with your arm, and you're going to make big plays in the passing game, because I guarantee you that Michigan is expecting Penn State to go heavy run, and if that happens, they can go ahead, change up the game plan, and that's going to create some opportunities in the passing game. And when you can create passing opportunities in the passing game, that's going to be good for your team. And I think that's exactly what Penn State is going to do. The problem with that is I don't think that's actually going to happen. I don't think Penn State is actually going to adjust, because when does James Franklin ever adjust? James Franklin is not a coach that adjusts well to opposing teams. He's the kind of coach that runs the same thing all the time, regardless of what the opponent is doing. If I'm down by a lot of points, I'm going to be predictable on offense. If I'm up by a lot of points on offense, I'm going to be predictable on offense. This James Franklin guy is the definition of predictability. And even though Jim Harbaugh is an alleged cheater, I don't think it takes a cheater to know that James Franklin is very predictable in his play calls, okay? So I don't expect Penn State to change a lot of things. Penn State is who they are as a football team. Even though they do have a good young quarterback and Drew Allard, they're not necessarily going to be slinging that thing 40, 50 times a game. I'm not saying that they got to do that against Michigan, but they got to come out of the game swinging. They got to come out of the game throwing early. Just shake Michigan off. Just make them surprised that they're throwing the ball, because we all know that James Franklin is all about establishing the run, okay? And Michigan's defense is very good at stopping the run, okay? There's a reason why Michigan's defense has been dominant all year, because it all starts with stopping the run, and Michigan's defense has done a good job with that all season long. Quite frankly, they've done a good job overall as a team, just dominating every opponent. Yeah, their schedule is weak, but it still takes effort to go out there on the football field and stop opposing teams from showing up week in and week out. It's not even the fact that they're winning these games, it's how they're winning these games. They're winning these games in domination, okay? They're winning games of 49-0, 41-13. They're winning games in blowout fashion, where they're having to put backups in by the fourth quarter because the game is just getting out of hand. That's how dominant Michigan has been. And even though Michigan has been busted up, they're still a good football team. And I think that this alleged cheating scandal is going to lit a fire in this entire Michigan locker room, okay? It's going to kind of remind me of the 2007 Patriots, where they got busted up for Spygate, and then they went on to win every single game in the regular season. I could see Michigan doing something like that, because that's going to unify the team, and they're going to say, you think we can't win without cheating? Okay, we'll show you this. We're going to show you that we're going to play harder than everybody else. We're going to show you that we're going to outsmart everybody else, and we're just going to flat out dominate you. We're not even going to make these games close. We're just going to beat you as bad as we can. And that's exactly what Michigan is going to do, because that's the kind of team that Michigan is. And I'm sure Jim Harbaugh is probably telling his team right now, yeah, you think that we can't win without cheating? We'll prove them wrong. We'll go ahead and out-hit you. We're going to play hard every single play, and we're going to play till the whistle blows. And when you look at Michigan, they got a really good team. They got JJ McCarthy. He's a good quarterback. Yeah, he might not be a tier 1 quarterback in college football, but he's a very good tier 2 quarterback in college football. He's definitely a top 10 quarterback in the country. JJ McCarthy is an impact player. And then they got Blake Corum. He's been really good for them this year. He's their power runner. Blake Corum has 16 touchdowns on the year on the ground. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. When you have a running back like that, that is going to make teams have a hard time defending you, because they can know what's coming up. But can you tackle Blake Corum? No, you can't. And I expect Blake Corum to have an amazing game against Penn State, because Michigan is the tougher team compared to Penn State. And then, of course, they have their speed running back and Donovan Edwards. He's really good in the run game as well. He can also catch the football too. So he does a little bit of everything. When you look at Michigan's 2 running backs, you're thinking, man, how can we stop that duel? Because they are really good. Blake Corum is going to wear you out physically, and Donovan Edwards is going to wear you out by his blazing speed. But when you look at the receiving room, they got Roman Wilson. He's really good. Then they have a bunch of role players at the wide receiver position. They got Cornelius Johnson, Samaje Morgan, Tyler Morris. I know that Roman Wilson is the main wide receiver and that they don't really use a lot of other wide receivers, but they're still there. They have opportunities to make plays in the passing game. It's not like those guys can't play. It's just that they don't really use them because they already have an identity of being more physical up front and running the football. They are about as old school as you can get. You look at the physicality that Jim Harbaugh preaches day in and day out. Well, that's exactly what Michigan is all about. But then you look at their tight ends, they got Colston Loveland, AJ Barner, so they're pretty good at the tight end position. When you look at Michigan's team, they are about as stacked as you can get, because they have a great defense, they got a good quarterback, they got a powerful running game, they got a really good outside receiver, and their tight end game is really good as well. And you think about their O-line, how they're nasty up front and how they're just more physical than everybody else. When you talk about the physicality of Michigan's O-line, that's going to wear out Penn State's defensive line. I think it's going to be a good game because Penn State is a good team, but I think Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than James Franklin. I don't really see how you can even argue for that, because even though Jim Harbaugh's team cheated, they're still a good football team. They're still a physical team up front. You can't necessarily outsmart a team that's physical up front. And when you have an offensive line that is just willing to get after it and be willing to give effort, attitude, and toughness 100% of the time, that's really hard to stop. I can't see how Penn State is going to be able to out-physical Michigan. And when you have a team that can't out-physical Michigan, you're not going to win against them, particularly with the personnel that Penn State has. The only way you're going to beat Michigan is if you have a Georgia-like squad or a TCU-like squad where they were filled with blazing speed all over the place. Michigan is just too powerful for Penn State. They're the more physical team. They're the tougher team. This is like big brother against little brother. As far as what the score is going to be, I think the score is going to be a tight game because it is a rivalry game. It is at Penn State, so I expect Penn State to put up a good fight. But as far as whether they can keep up with Michigan or not, I don't see it happening. I do see this being a one-score game. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. I got Michigan scoring 24 points, Penn State scoring 17 points. It's going to be a bloodbath. So Michigan's going to end up winning the game by the score of 24-17. I think that JJ McCarthy will be the difference in this game. JJ McCarthy is a good quarterback. He is a top 10 quarterback in the country. Drew Allar, even though he's played well, he's not a top 10 quarterback in the country. He's just not quite there yet. Also, remember that James Franklin doesn't show up in big games as well. I trust Jim Harbaugh more than I trust James Franklin in big games. So that's why Jim Harbaugh will prove his haters wrong against Penn State, as Michigan will beat Penn State by the score of 24-17. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I'm going to shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @Dustin Tran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin Tran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.